Hi, my name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. Today I have with me a return guest, Mark WC3W with the DX Marathon. I spoke with Mark probably a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, and when I was looking at the DX Marathon webpage, it appears to me that they've had a remarkable 2023, a lot of growth. So I thought it might be good to reconnect with Mark and get an update on what's happening. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Kevin, thank you so much for the invite and thank you for all you do for our wonderful hobby.
Well, you're doing a lot yourself. I'm very impressed with how you brought leadership and business experience to the GX Marathon. And obviously, it re energized that program. Not that it wasn't doing well before, but I think I was looking at possibly a 50% increase in participation over the past year. Why don't you take it from there? Tell us exactly what has gone on in 2023.
I sure can, Kevin. It has been remarkable. When I first took the program over in 21, my first full, or actually, yeah, 22, which was my first full year. We had a 46% growth in participation. Obviously, that was just a lot through K9EL, my predecessors, John Sweeney's efforts. We were involved, and I had begun the my Zoom mission to try to market the program. Quite frankly, we're blessed in our hobby of having so many different contests and so many different programs that sometimes it gets very confusing. And John is a singular guy who literally administered this program for 17 consecutive years. Frankly, didn't have a whole lot of time to do anything other than administer the program. So when I took it over, I got his agreement to bring on board some of the key disciplines and literally distribute some of the workload, which frankly allowed me to do the externally focused marketing effort, and I did it mainly through Zoom. Zoom is free, and I got a lot of support from the ARRL section managers to spread the word down into their clubs. Most clubs always are looking for people to speak. So that first year, I probably did 50 or so Zoom meetings with clubs, and so 22 came in at a plus 46%. I didn't know exactly what to expect for 23 because we had one specific anomaly in 22 that really contributed significantly to that growth, and that was our friends down in the Indonesian community. They've got a real organizer down there, and their participation literally went off the map. It exploded, and they ended up winning the Passion club. Ended up winning number one in the world also. So I didn't know what to expect in 2023. I kind of was doing the same thing, trying to get as many Zoom meetings as I possibly could. And I was hoping, quite frankly, for a double-digit growth again. Because in our hobby, if you think about it, our hobby is not growing double-digit. We're trying to maintain worldwide ham. I'm pleased to say, though, the latest statistics I've looked at in the U.S., which has about 750,000 hams, we're holding our own. We're not decreasing in our ham population like Japan is, for example. 8 years ago, Japan had like 1.3 million hams. Today, they've got about 350,000. Now, they're an aging population and they're not replenishing. The birth rate is not replenishing. So that's what happens. So I didn't know what to expect, but I told my staff that I said, if we get double digit, 15%, 20%, I would be very happy. Well, it turns out our growth in 23 was plus 50%. And when I was told that, I just like fell off my chair. I was a happy camper. I was very happy. So we're going to continue to do what we've been doing. I truly believe that if we can get the word out, our biggest challenge is to get the word, spread the word. And for that, Kevin, I'm thanking you for bringing me back, because your platform and a few others have really helped, amplify and get the word out for the DX Marathon program. So we're doing some other things that I'll discuss if you're interested later on. But I hope that answered your question. We just it's a fun program, and with Cycle 25 being, I just looked at SFI this morning. It's 241. I mean, if you're a ham today and you got a radio, and if you work any DX, it's time to be in this program because it's fun. It's fun and it's easy and it's global.
So we're going to get into that in a second, why it's fun and some of the intricacies of the DX Marathon. But I've got to say, I love your answer. I think a skeptic might look at the DX Marathon and say, sure, COVID hit, people are locked inside, they're looking for something new. But the fact that you sustained that growth and actually increased it into 2023 and 2024 tells me that it's not just a COVID phenomena. But also, what you're saying about getting the word out, I think is so important. And I think, when people get together in their huddles at Visalia and Dayton asking themselves, how do we grow this hobby? I fear that sometimes we miss the point that getting the word out is a big part of it. As somebody who has a background in publishing and communication and marketing, I just see it as an essential step that we need to be talking about what we are doing within ham radio and creating converts from that conversation. And you've done that well from the beginning. But even before you just said that you had 50 different appearances, I was watching it here. Your name and the DX Marathon was popping up wherever. So kudos to you for understanding the value in that. So now let's switch gears into the DX Marathon itself. You took over a program that John was running very successfully. You've taken it to the next level. Beyond communication and getting the word out, what has changed within the DX Marathon in your view?
One thing we've done, and we're still, it's a continuous improvement effort we're making, is again, John was so overwhelmed with managing this whole program singularly by himself that he frankly just didn't have time to look at a lot of other things that might be linked to growing the program. And he's on our board. He's been a phenomenal help to me for ideas, things that he was thinking about doing, but just didn't have the resources to do it. So one of the things we're doing right now, and we've already made some movement in this area, our recognition program, our plaques and our certificates have been the same for 17 consecutive years. So I asked the question of myself and of my staff and as of John, are we recognizing people who are participating in this program in the correct way? I mean, our hobby has changed. I mean, when we first put this in place, we didn't have FT8, for example. Now 70% of our queues are FT8. We have increased participation from other parts of the world. 2/3 of our participants are international. A third is North American. Are we properly putting in place our recognition programs and plaque programs to acknowledge, one, our current constituents, but just as importantly, are we putting a recognition and merit program in place to encourage participation and growth? So I'm going through that right as we speak. And I've come up, for example, we issue an award about 30 plaques and about 130 certificates last year, 2023. I have come up with a proposal that would increase our plaque recognition by 20. That's very aggressive, from 30 to 50, okay? And by adjusting the recognition, I won't go into those details. Certificates I can increase easily because they don't cost us anything. we send a very beautiful certificate of merit to winners in certain areas. So that's not a problem. The 20 increased plaques requires us to come up with 20 new sponsors. Okay, that's my challenge now. And I put out a broadcast to as many people as and organizations and clubs as I possibly could about 3 or 4 weeks ago and say, we want to further expand and fuel the growth of this wonderful program that's had 46 and 50% growth. I need some additional sponsorships. A sponsorship, it's not for most clubs. It's chump change. It's $100, and that pays for a plaque and shipment. So I'm trying to raise and gain support for that between now and about September, mid-September. I'll see what I can do. If I can only get 10, then I'll go back to the recognition program and I'll make the appropriate adjustments. But my desire is to have about 20 more sponsors or less than 20. We have many of our sponsors. For example, I'm a member of CW Ops. CW Ops stepped up and now they have 4 sponsorships. Top US, top world CW score in DX Marathon, top US, top Europe, and they just added, the board of directors just added top CW Ops members. The number 1 will also be recognized with a plaque. So many of our sponsors, the Northern Illinois DX Association, they sponsor 4 also. So getting to the 20 doesn't necessarily mean I need 20 more. If somebody would step in and maybe agree to sponsor 2 plaques or 3 plaques, that's realizable too. So I kind of danced around there. I don't know if I answered your question. Excuse me, I've got a little bronchial issue here this morning. But again, reaching out and touching people and making them aware is the number 1 priority. And then I can go below that. I want to make sure that, you know, our recognition system, some people are in our program to compete. We call DX Marathon a program, but some could call it a contest because we do have a certain segment of our participants who are very competitive. You know, top band score in 15 meters or top score in the unlimited class or whatever, and they aggressively go after that. So, we have a lot of people that are in it. They don't necessarily want to win that plaque, but they want to simply look at how they're doing year to year, like I did for 7 years. I like a metric. I like to know, how did I do in my pursuit of DXing this year versus last year versus a year before. And, you know, I once worked for a guy that said, Mark, if you can't measure something, it's not worth doing. So without pressure, if somebody wants to participate in this, they can do it. And I can get into that if you're interested, of how simple the program. That's what we pride ourselves also in our program. It's very, very simple. The entry barriers to getting into the program are none, literally none. If you've got a computer, a logging program, we have people that don't even have logging program. They have paper logs. You can still participate. We have a way to handle that. No QSL, no LOTW verification. You just get on your radio and work DX and keep track of what you're working. And at the end of the year, you turn in your score and we do all the grading of the scores. And then we get back to you and we tell you how you did against your peers, how you did against your previous year's performance. It's effortless, literally. It's effortless.
Let's go back really quickly to funding. I think it's so important that you remind people that there is funding required, whether we talk about the ARRL or DXpeditions. You know, we unfortunately have this view of the hobby that everybody's cheap, but the fact is that all these things require a certain amount of funding. So I'll tell you right now, I'll send you a $100 check. I want to be a sponsor on one of those plaques. I will absolutely have that in the mail to you before the end of the day today, and I hope other people step up and do the same thing, because it's certainly worth it to appreciate the efforts that you and your team are doing. We want to keep this hobby thriving. The other thing you mentioned was competition, and I love this idea that everybody's driven by something different, right? I've been back in the hobby now for a couple of years, and I interview a lot of very experienced, accomplished contesters, and they win, and they want to win. But one of the things that keeps coming up is there are still a lot of participants that don't plan on winning, and maybe they don't have the skill level to win, but they're still going to have fun. And I always relate it to my running. I'm not a great runner, but I'll run half marathons. I don't ever expect to have that medal around my neck, but I still go out there and I do it and I enjoy it. And I approach contests the same way. I am measuring against last year's performance or the year before that and just trying to improve. So I think that developing a program where there's something in it for everybody and understanding that is really important. The ease of getting involved with DX Marathon is something that struck me the first time we spoke. And it is simple to do. And I think that sometimes people don't understand how easy it is. So I want to go back to you on that one. Just take a step by step through the process of becoming a DX Marathon participant.
Your example of running is phenomenal. You know, we call it a marathon because it's a program that starts January 1st and ends December 31st. We call it a marathon. It's not a weekend contest program. Your other point about, you know, people are born competitive and some people like competition and some people don't. You can do it both ways in this program. And if you're an avid contester, I saw your wonderful interview with Craig Thompson, K9CT. He is the treasurer of CW Ops, and he's a great supporter of our program. Amazing supporter. CW Ops is also, along with so many others. But okay, let me speak to your question. Okay, first of all, I want to say that participation in this program is free. There's no cost associated with participation. And we understand that some people are blessed with, you know, money and some don't have a whole lot and they put it into their gear. There's no cost to this program for participation. Number one. Okay. Why do we say it's simple? We say it's simple, as I just said, if you've got a radio and you got an antenna, okay, and you're licensed to operate, you're essentially a qualified participant. There's no other hurdles that you need. And by the way, anybody that might be listening to this podcast, you are in the program right now. If you have those items and you have recorded your in a log your cues since January 1st, you are in the program right now. Okay. I mentioned there's no QSL requirements. There's no LOTW. There's no verification. It's a program. We base it on the inherent honesty of our participants. Now, we do some checking for those competitive types. We want to validate. I won't get into that right now. We have certain processes that we can check, but by and large, we don't check them. You work them, you get a report, an exchange, and you log them, and you earn your 1 point. Simple again. There's no understanding there's no sophisticated calculations in how you compute your scores. You know when you turn in your log what your score is. Why? Because we give 1 point for every DXCC country entity, of which there's 340. We add the Worked All Europe entities. There's 6 additional in there. So we have 346 entities plus 40 CQ zones. You get a point for each entity and you get a point for each CQ zone, and the sum total of those is your score. So you know what your score is at the time you submit. Now we go in and check and make sure there's no mistakes. So there may be some deducts. A deduct, if you make a mistake in a logging of a call or whatever, you're not thrown out of the program. You get a 1 point deduct. It's very simple, very, very simple. Our IT manager devised last year a new submission tool. KI2D, Sebastian is our IT administrator. The submission process, and I'm sure everybody's going to understand this. If you're using an electronic log, whether it's Ham Radio Deluxe, whether it's DS Labs, out of that log, you generate an ADIF file. Most hams know how to do that. You take that ADIF file, and with the new scoring tool, you simply punch upload ADIF file. It goes up, and you have just made a submission. That's it. Simple, simple, simple. I'm developing a new logo for the marathon program, and it's got a world globe, and it basically says fun, global, and simple. That's our mantra. I mean, that's what this program is all about. That's it. That's how you participate. And then we go through the scoring process, and then we publish the results on our webpage. We used to publish through CQ Magazine, but as all of you know, they fell onto pretty hard times and no longer exist. But our program exists, and we thank those who are still around within the CQ organization that put this program into place, which was, back in, actually it first came out in the late 30s. It went dormant, and then Bob Loker, W9KNI, revived it in 2005. And thanks to Bob also, he's on our board of directors. And here we are. But I hope that answered your question, Kevin. It's just so simple to get involved. And, right now, it is such a good time with Cycle 25, with the SFI at 240. If you're in an apartment, and we have many participants in apartments that have an attic antenna, and you've got a radio, you can participate and you can work some awesome DX. And it's going to be this way for the next 5 years, at least, okay, with Cycle 25. So let me make one other point to that. In my Zoom meetings, you can characterize almost anything with the bell-shaped curve, the Gaussian distribution, okay? It's my philosophy and my reaching out and my charge. The people out here on the 1 Sigma, that is the guys with big stations like myself and Bob Loker and K9EL and others, I don't worry about those guys, okay? What I'm focusing on is all those hams in the middle that they don't have linear amplifiers, they don't have towers, okay? They have a radio, they got a wire antenna or a vertical. That's where the big numbers are in our hobby. Worldwide, it's not only in the US, it's all over the world. I'm really focusing in our formula class, which describes that tranche of participants. We had a 400% increase in 2023 in that class. So all of you listening, I want to make this program, and I'm going back in as I tabulate awards, that's where my focus is. I want to encourage you guys who have those equipments to look at this program and join it and participate, because the numbers are huge. And it's making available something that I've enjoyed my whole life, 61 years. I'm in love with DXing. It's making it possible. Cycle 25 is making it possible for all of you in that classification to enjoy what I've enjoyed for 60 years without having a huge antenna and a beam and a linear amplifier and that kind of thing. It's making the world of DX, the fun of DX, possible for all of you.
Mark, I always enjoy talking to you because you dig into the analytics. You've looked at your customer base. You know who they are. So that's all very helpful. I'm curious, are your participants more apt to be people that are newer to the game and know they can't catch up immediately with the DXCC honor roll? So this is a way of sort of leveling the playing field and getting some recognition quicker? Or does this tend to be the veteran DXCC people, even the honor roll people, that are looking for some fun? I've already done it. I'm at 340, and I want to inject some fun into my day. I'm going to see if I can do it all over again in 365 days. Which is it, or is it both?
That's a great question, and I can't honestly say I understand from information that I get, and I haven't done analytics on that, but I can't really be specific on an answer, but I can tell you the answer is both. We have, obviously, with our growth, we're seeing a lot of new participants every year, and those come from both of those segments. It comes from people who've done it all. Why do I want to work another DX station? Because, and I didn't mention this, our program every year resets to zero. So you start January 1st and you got a clean slate. You got zero country works, you got zero CQ zone works. And many of the people that you described who are in that honor roll or the 340, they like that concept. It gives them reason to get back on the air and start operating. Similarly, on the other end of the spectrum, with the new participant, whether you're new to the hobby or whether you're just becoming aware of this, it gives those people reason to have fun and to work DX. So I think it's a contribution of both, but I can't speak to the metric of exactly where they come from.
So next time we talk, I'm going to expect you to have done that survey and have that number for me. Mark, I should know the answer to this, but do you have real-time leaderboards on your website that would show what's happening throughout the year, who is leading the charge in certain areas?
Some people would say I might have seeded that question with you because it is a very relevant question right now. And the reason it is we do have a number of participants who are interested in ongoing public scoring. How are people doing? In the past, we have not done that because there have been a certain number of hams, particularly in the competitive side of the participant area, that don't want to tell anybody what they got. Okay, but we have a lot of people that says we should do that. Now, with the new submission tool, you can upload any number of times during the year. You can upload now, you can upload in January, you can upload, it doesn't matter. Each successive upload will superimpose or overwrite what you previously did. So in my 2025, as I'm thinking for our rules and changes to the program, including recognition, we are thinking about doing that. Now, the idea that we're looking at is in the submission, we will have a check mark for those that wish to have their score posted, but we still want to recognize that certain people would not want their score. So they will be able to make a conscious decision as to whether they wish to publish their scores during the course of the year or keep them private. So I don't know where that's, I have to respect those people that wish not to do it, but I also have to respect those that wish to do it. So that's how I've come up with that, and we might see how that goes. So the answer to your question is, in all likelihood, in 2025, we will do it, but it will be upon the desire of those participants at the time of submission, final submission at the end of this year, that indicate that they wish to have their score published, and we will do that. So we will do it. It's just how many people will choose to participate, I don't know.
So, Mark, I think that's very smart and forward thinking. And I'll tell you why. Obviously, I talked to a lot of people on this show, and there are a lot of younger people getting involved with the hobby, and there's more than we want to give credit for. I've talked to many of them, and many of them won't talk to me because they're so young and inexperienced they don't want to come on air yet. But almost to a person, they enjoy the real time data. They want to know where they stand, and I think it's more part of their culture, whether it be gaming culture or anything like that. They don't want to wait 7 months. They don't even want to wait 2 months. They'd like to know right now. So I think that will be the trend, and if we want to attract younger people, I think you're spot on. But also, and maybe more importantly, I talk to a lot of competitive operators, particularly in the contesting realm, and the best of the best. And by best, I mean these people win, and they're out to win. They're increasingly getting involved with the online scoreboard. So they have jettisoned this old idea that I want to keep it private and secret right to the end. And I've heard that too, and I understand it and I respect it. But when I'm talking to Dan Craig, N6MJ, and Randy, K5ZD, both sophisticated, experienced contesters, and they sign up for the online scoreboard all the time. As a matter of fact, they go a step further. They're giving tips to other people. They're coming on my Contest Crew show every week, giving away all their secrets because that's fun for them. They want to, help people with tactics and strategies. They love the online scoreboard. So again, I think both from an experienced amateur radio operator standpoint as well as youth getting involved with the hobby, I think what you're doing is forward thinking, and I think we need more of it. So again, kudos. The program's blessed to have you there making those sorts of tough decisions because I know it's hard to make that decision and try to keep everybody happy.
Well, let me give you a little secret. Okay, our more experienced participants, they have a way to kind of see how others are doing. It's called the wonderful Club Log organization. So you can actually go on Club Log, and if you know another person is participating in DX Marathon and is in the hunt, you have a pretty good metric there. So there is a way to do it right now, but why not us do it as well? So thank you for that comment. You're dead on, and that's why I think we're going to do it.
So, Mark, I am curious about the CQ relationship, and I know that doesn't have anything to do with the program itself, but when I went to your website earlier today, I saw that the CQ logo is still there. So I'm curious, are you part of the CQ magazine organization? And I know the magazine itself is defunct now, but the organization still exists. Are you part of that, or have you created some sort of independent, maybe nonprofit outside of that realm, and they've allowed you to use the CQ logo?
Okay, that's really a good question, and the reason we haven't changed anything out of respect for CQ magazine, there still hasn't been a formal public announcement. They just quit publishing and kind of went silent, and so CQ, we give them great kudos for bringing this program on board many years ago, but through Bob Loker's rejuvenation of the program and the 17 years that John Sweeney ran the program, other than publishing the rules in November and the results in June, CQ did absolutely nothing. Zero financial support. They didn't. We grew our program, and so the reason you're still seeing references in our webpage is out of respect for them. We chose, and not having heard any formal announcement, they just kind of went away in the sunset. We chose not to do anything. That will be changed next year, and we saw this coming because this didn't just happen. This happened back last summer, actually a year ago, where they actually lost most of their employees. They couldn't make payroll. And we knew about that. And so we kind of baked into our program a contingency plan, which we've done. We still don't know what the logo, whether there's the CQ is a generic term within our program. The CQ magazine, we don't know whether that's intellectual property of wherever the residual of CQ magazine is. We still don't know that. So I don't know where that's going, but unless somebody significantly objects, we will continue to use the term CQ, but it'll be CQDX Marathon. The magazine won't have anything to do with that. And if we run into a situation where somebody challenges us on it, we'll take the appropriate actions, to protect their intellectual property. But right now, and I know I'm pretty sure the WPX program is doing the same thing. There's value in CQ in our hobby, and everybody kind of is comfortable with CQ. So we'll probably continue to use that logo, unless we're told otherwise. So that's really where we are with regard to that the CQ magazine issue. It's very unfortunate. I love the CQ magazine, but it just wasn't meant to happen, I guess. And the main constituents just they needed a lot of influx of money for which they never got.
So, Mark, before we close up, are there any final points that you'd like to make?
Well, I tell you, once again, Kevin, you're a great interviewer. I commend you on that. You ask so many really relevant questions, and this wasn't rehearsed for the audience. That Kevin just came up with some great questions. But now, please go to our website, www.dxmarathon.com. Whether you're in the program or not in the program, there is a wealth of information. We are literally touching that website. It's not like some websites where people don't look at it for 6 months. We are in that almost weekly, updating it, bad calls, DXpeditions, K2CIB, our communications director. Literally every week we're uploading new information on bad spots. It's a tremendous resource. There's history information on who the past winners are. So go to the website. We also have a group IO page. If you go in, we would welcome people. I only have about 500 people in there, and we have over 2,000 participants. So we still don't have, I'm trying to boost that level because it's a platform and a venue where our participants can chat back and forth and get ideas on what's happening, So I would encourage you who are interested to go to the Group IO page. And I'll just close by saying, there's two ways you can contribute. We're looking for sponsors, but on our website, there's a PayPal link that if you want to throw in $5 or $10 to help fuel our working capital needs, because, my administrative staff, we'd like to get to the point, and we're barely there right now, where we don't have to take money out of our own pocket to run the program. Out of 2,000 participants, if everybody could just throw in $5, we'd have more money than we need to do just to administer it. So if you feel it's in your heart to help our program and ham radio, we would encourage you to go to PayPal and throw in $5. Like I said, there's no cost to the program. This is volunteer only. Oh, lastly, we are a DX Marathon LLC. And within a month or two, we will be a legitimate 501c3 program. So with the aspect to any plaque sponsors or contributions, it will be a tax deductible. We're not quite there yet, but within a very short period of time, we should be there. So that's it. And Kevin, thank you so much for this opportunity. You do a great job, and hopefully you might see this on QRZ too, like Kevin did last time, which just gave us an opportunity to touch more people. And if you have a need, Zoom. I'm doing a Zoom. I was at Dayton. I was at W9 DXCC. I was at W4 DXCC. I try to reach out and Zoom meetings. I'm doing Zoom meetings. I did one in Australia, Japan. I'm trying to get Zoom meetings out to our international customers to try to bolster that part of our program as well. We have some countries that are, in my judgment, are underrepresented based on the number of hams in the country. So I'm trying to it's all getting the word out. So if any of you just talk, or give me opportunity to do Zoom meetings, I'm here. I'm retired, so I can do them. Thank you, Kevin.
My name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. I've been talking to Mark, WC3W, about the DX Marathon. You really should take some time and go to his webpage. It's a great website, as he has already mentioned. And maybe before you buy that 20th antenna that you're going to put in your basement, consider sending a small donation to help out with the DX Marathon. Mark, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Kevin.